Good evening, listeners, and you're welcome along to Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll. On this Friday, the 16th of January 2026, we have a big hour lined up ahead, looking to what's going to be a massive weekend of sport in Tipperary. We're going to, of course, be talking about the big one in Templederry tomorrow. That's Thurles CBS against Nenagh CBS in the Harty Cup semi-final. We also have some Munster finals and Munster semi-finals to look forward to in the world of camogie as well. Geraldine Kinane will join us later in the show to talk about that. We're also going to be sitting down and chatting with Stephen Rosney from Nenagh. The Tipperary darts player became a pro last week, winning a PDC Tour card. So we'll talk about all that and more with Stephen Rosney in the show. And of course, Barry Drake will round off the hour with our weekly greyhound racing update. So that's what's to come over the course of the next hour. And we'll run you down through what else is happening in the world of sport in Tipperary this weekend as well. But let's get started with that big one in Templederry tomorrow at 12:30. And to talk ahead of the Nenagh CBS and Thurles CBS game, which you can hear live here on Tip FM, with thanks to REA, Owen Dillon and Nenagh. We're going to be joined first by Shane Brophy from the head of sport at the Nenagh Guardian. Shane, you're welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul.
And we also have Cian Treacy, who will be joining us on commentary for the Harty Cup match on Saturday. Cian, how are you?
Good, Paul, thanks.
Yeah, it's a massive weekend to look ahead to with this Thurles CBS and Nenagh CBS game. Harty Cup semi-final, 2024 champions against 2025 champions. It's a game that doesn't need much billing for Tipperary hurling supporters. But Shane, one of the talking points going in here was the venue. It was kind of the talking point since the conclusion of both quarterfinals when you knew it was going to be Nenagh against Thurles. It's Templederry, brilliant fields and things like that. But the capacity of 2,000 is probably seeing a few disappointed people around the Premier County who can't make it to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose once the pairing was known last week, I suppose the thing that popped into my head straight away is what would I think of a projected crowd of? I was thinking 4,000 or 5,000, and that if it's only 2,000, I believe a lot of the tickets are gone at this stage. There's a lot of, and say there's some people who probably are only realising now that it was an all-ticket game, and maybe they thought that just tap and go when they get there. So it's just a pity. And I know options are limited. I believe Temple Stadium is closed and Templemore is closed, and I think the RAG has refurbishment remark been done in their dressing room. So I know options are limited. So. It's just a pity. I don't think keen thing is it's the biggest schools game I can remember in the county in my time. I suppose we've never probably had two Tipperary schools going. I suppose Cashel and Thurles met in the final a couple of years ago, and it was easy to get into Temple Stadium then. But outside of the final, I think it's the biggest schools game I can remember between two Tipperary schools before.
Yeah, it's certainly a real huge and a big feel to it, and anyone with hurling interest in the county is going to be interested in this one. But Cian, what have you made of the kind of venue situation? And it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere, which is the kind of counterpoint to having it in somewhere like Semple Stadium, which would hold as big of a crowd as you'd want for this game. But it should be an unbelievable atmosphere for the people who are there.
Yeah, Paul, and that's the brilliant thing about Harty Cup hurling is the atmosphere, the supporters behind you, the kids in your own school and your friends getting behind you in these big games. And disappointed for people who won't get to Templederry, but I think anyone who has a ticket is going to be absolutely electric. The hands of the Munster Council are slightly tied in the amount of venues locally that are cup tied, we'll say, or unavailable, as Shane alluded to. Templemore, I think, hosted the semi-final between these two sides back in 2010, and there was a huge crowd at that. And the Harty Cup final between Cashel and Thurles, obviously, in Semple Stadium. But even, I think there was 8,000 or 9,000 at that Harty Cup final in Semple Stadium, and it's a massive occasion. But it is lost somewhat in Semple Stadium, and I think these rural grounds are the places for these big games. Massive atmosphere, and it's what kids grow up. I know, growing up in Thurles, we all wanted to play Harty Cup and play in games like Saturday. So it's going to be electric. It's disappointing for people who won't get tickets, but on the other side of it, we now have Clubber, which is an amazing thing to have, that people can watch the match live. If you go back 5 or 6 years, you're either there or you're missing it. So yeah, disappointed, but Clubber will cover it really well. It'll be live on radio with us with Tip FM, and it's going to be a massive occasion.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. 12:30 in Templederry, of course. Shane, we'll talk about this Nenagh team. Dean Ryan Cup winners 2 years ago, so you come in with that expectation when you're the Dean Ryan Cup winners, and 2 years later that kind of team graduates to the Harty Cup. It's a team with an abundance of talent, and it kind of has you could argue it's a little bit top heavy in terms of there's so much good attacking talent on that team.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's I suppose in fairness to Nenagh so far, like they've lived up to I suppose the expectation, as you said, pretty well. Like Dean Ryan Cup winners 2 years ago, so like they had that badge behind them, and look, they've done everything they've asked so far. I suppose bar maybe drawing with Flannans in the first round, and like that was a game they had well in hand until Owen Dahan got injured, and I suppose that the regulations within the Munster post-primary school said that it was a draw and scores were level, that the team who scored the most goals got the head-to-head, and it meant Nenagh ended up getting a tougher quarter-final against Middleton. And look, I thought they were comfortable that day without being completely impressive. Like Middleton shot an awful lot of wides, but like Nenagh were very, very efficient and used the ball well. Owen Dahan, the captain and a survivor from 2 years ago, 114, 5 points in play. Like he's like there's going to be some, and you're probably looking at this stage his matchup with Ewan Murray, a Thurles at centre back, like 2 All-Ireland winners from a couple of years ago. Like that could be central into how this game is decided.
Yeah, there's so many kind of interesting matchups all over the field, and even wondering where lads will line out and things like that. But Cian, this Thurles team, I mentioned they're defending Harty Cup champions, defending Crow Cup champions, but you know, a large number of the players that featured on that team last year no longer part of the panel, but then the ones you do have still around, the likes of a Ewan Murray, Tiernan Ryan, Killian Minogue. There's a fine spread of players there as well. But how would you kind of compare them to last year's Harty Cup winning team?
It's a little bit unfair to compare the two teams. I think there's 5 remain, and Toby Corbett to come back in after a fantastic victory with Upper Church Dunban last week. He'll give a major boost to that defence. Shane might know something I don't, because Murray's played midfield for the majority of the year, but that is a really interesting point as to whether I think both centre forwards are really interesting. You know, and Dahan, he floats, he got 5 points in play the last day. Ryan Bargery would be more of an attacking half back. He was outstanding last year at wing back, driving forward, getting his couple of points every game. So he in the quarter final he played really deep as a sweeper against De La Salle at times. So it will be interesting to see, is it Ewan who moves back on him? On the other side, Tiernan Ryan, who's been out, he wasn't at his absolute best the last day against De La Salle, but had a really heavy schedule with Holy Cross Ballycal's under 21 win. But all year he's been the standout player on that Thurles side. He's been shooting the lights out for centre forward. And Shane Cleary, who played centre back the last day for Nenagh, again another guy who's played a lot of his hurling underage in the forward line, a really attacking half back. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the matchup is on Tiernan, whether Ewan goes back into the back. The other guy I'm really intrigued about is Patrick Ryan. Outstanding cornerback on the All-Ireland minor winning team, outstanding in the under-21 in the back line, and plays in the forwards for both the Harty Cup team for Nenagh and also for the seniors for Borsley. And I'm just wondering, is he more effective in a deeper role, and whether they'll think about maybe putting him back as a midfielder on Ewan Murray, or even as far back as picking up Killian Minogue. So look, there's a lot of things that really interesting matchups, 2 really, really good teams, and I think this really just has people with the bit between their teeth really looking forward to Saturday, and I just think it's going to be a cracker. Thurles haven't been beaten in the Harty Cup since the 2024 semi-final against Ardscoil Reach, where they got a late free for Ardscoil, denied them. So 2 really, really good teams, Nenagh winners a couple of years ago. So all very, very interesting, Paul.
Yeah, and a brilliant advertisement for Tipperary hurling and underage hurling as well. So Shane, have you a fancy for this game?
Look, I just think it's so even hard to call. Like, there's a lot of people saying Nenagh are favourites, and look, they've done everything that they've been asked of so far. Like, I suppose they've had the tougher route to get here. They're in a tough group with Ardscoil Reach and Flannans, and like they probably got the Middleton in the quarter final were Dean Ryan Cup winners last year, so like they've beaten teams of pedigree. Thurles' group probably wasn't the strongest, but they probably would have welcomed the stiff test they got off De La Salle the last day, and they dug it out. The 2 goals from James Butler were hugely significant. Look, I said the one person that will be most interested in this game will be Brendan Cummins, the Tip under 20 manager. Like, he'll have so many potential panelists out there. You have as You have Patrick Ryan, as I say. I'd be interested to see, as Joaquin said, like Patrick was particularly quiet in the quarter final against Middleton. Will they bring him out a bit? But although Middleton played a sweeper for a lot of that game, and it sort of negated maybe the likes of him and Joe O'Dwyer and direct ball going in, and then you have Patrick Hackett, I thought he was outstanding for Nenagh against Middleton. Like, he didn't score, but the amount of scores he created from full forward was outstanding. Shane Cleary at centre back, very good. I wouldn't be surprised that this one needs extra time, and it'd be. You have the last two winners going head to head, I don't want to call it. I just want to go back and enjoy it and hope the best team wins. I think that's where we're all looking for at this stage.
Cian, do you have a particular lean either way?
I'd be very similar to Shane. I find this really hard to call. I think Thurles are outstanding champions. They will be really hard not to crack for Nenagh. Nenagh will go in as marginal favourites in many people's minds. You look at that forward line particularly. It's brilliant to see Billy O'Brien back hurling. He got a brilliant goal the last day. Austin Duff hurling really well. Owen Don seems to be the real up-and-coming star. And we had a chat last Saturday, wasn't it, in Croke Park, Paul, about how he actually looks like Shamie Callan in appearances after stretching, and he looks a real prospect. And that on the Thurles side, really looking to the guys who were there last year, the likes of Toby Corbett, Ryan Bargary, Ewan Murray, Killian, Tiernan, these guys. And some of the young guns on both sides really interesting. Chris Dunn, who's transferred in from Our Ladies in Templemore to Thurles CBS, and he's going to be big there. He started really brightly. James Butler, Dara Ryan, who's new onto the team. So some really, really interesting matchups, and it's just going to be a battleground. You know it's going to be a war of attrition. And local derbies in any sport bring out the best in both teams, and I just think there's only going to be a puck of the ball between these two sides, but it's a game that I'm sure I echo everyone in Tipperary in saying we're really, really looking forward to. And it bodes well for the future Tipperary hurling and for Brendan Cummins and James Woodlock and all the squads going forward.
Yeah, so the lads are going to sit in the fence. I'd say there are going to be a lot of people sitting on the fence up in Templeberry or sitting in the walls around the grounds to try and get a look at this one. But live here on Tip FM at 12:30 on Saturday, with thanks to REA Owen Dillon here in Nenagh. Lads, another thing I wanted to bring up with you in the world of hurling is the Munster GA convention on this week, and the secretary report from Kieran Leddy was released, and some really, really interesting points in the secretary report by Kieran Leddy that I wanted to bring to listeners' attention, really. First off, we'll start with penalty competitions and replays. So I'll read out a bit of the report here from the Munster secretary. No sooner had the Munster senior final concluded when calls were made for replays to be restored in provincial finals. However, as covered in my report last year, it is a case of being careful what you wish for. A replay would have taken place on the following Saturday evening, meaning the runner-up would have been playing the quarter-final the week after the replay and therefore subjected to 3 weeks in a row. I was amazed that very few asked if a replay was a fair situation on the players, which in my view it is not. If we build in a replay weekend with the All-Ireland quarter-final 2 weeks after the replay weekend, then the Munster winner would have to wait 5 weeks for the All-Ireland semi-final under the current format, which is also very unfair on the winning team. We need to stop harping back to the days of replays. Shane, what did you make of those comments from Kieran Leddy?
Yeah, no, I thought they were fair enough. I suppose people harp back to the. I don't think they think of the consequences of you just go to a replay, and then, as he mentioned there, if Cork and Limerick had to meet again the following Saturday, the loser would have had to play the following week, and we saw how fatigued Limerick looked with 2 weeks rest when they played against Dublin, and that's not taking anything away from Dublin, but Limerick did look like off the pace that day. Look, I suppose I think there's a lot of people still trying to get used to penalty strokes, and I suppose the fact that the Munster final is still huge, and if the Munster final was knockout and the loser was knocked out of the championship, I'd say okay, fair enough, but the loser of a Munster final is still in the All-Ireland series, so I unless there's an acceptance among all the competing counties that there is a Munster final and it's a draw and it goes to replay and you have to go out a week later for whoever loses the replay, and they're accepting of that, I'd have no problem with that either. But I suppose I just seeing that the demands of it at this stage, and we saw how how like they were lads barely able to walk, even taking the penalties in the Gaelic rounds last year. I think it's fair comment from the Munster CEO.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one as well, because you could easily have a situation where the Munster GA CEO is saying, "Oh no, we want replays or whatever," and fill up their coffers kind of thing. But it's the complete opposite angle Kieran Leddy is going with. And on the issue around penalties as well, he says the use of penalties is fair in that conditions are the same for both teams. And he's speaking about a golden score system would not be fair. For example, a team with a strong wind in their favour will have an advantage, and there's also the complication of a free winning the game, which places enormous pressure on the referee. Cian, what way do you think? Like, I have a suspicion that players, from games I've played myself and in finals and things like that, you just nearly want it done on the day. It's a bit of a stress throughout the week looking ahead to one of these big days, and as Shane said, the fatigue in the players taking the penalties in the Munster final last week. It'd be hard to expect them to come out and put that effort in again in the Munster final the following week. So what's your kind of overall viewpoint on the penalties?
100%, Paul. I couldn't agree more, and definitely from a player's point of view. You look at Upper Church Strumban against Turin last Saturday. In a certain set of events, that could have gone to a replay, and say it was in Limerick next Sunday. Upper Church and Turin players have both, they put their lives on hold for this game. They've organised maybe days off for recovery or celebration or whatever they were doing after the game. Their families, everything, holidays are put off, things with their families are put off in order for these games. And then it extends on another week or 2 weeks. And even in the case of senior intercounty, sometimes if it was a draw in All-Ireland, it would be 3 weeks later. And it was just too much. And I'm probably in the minority. I know that maybe some of the older listeners would think that penalties are sacrilege in GA. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I think they're a real test of character. I think back to that Munster final between Cork and Limerick in the Gaelic grounds. It was just so exciting. You never wanted it to end. And you wanted to see these top players. What are they made of when the pressure is massively put to their head? And I just think penalties, as I said, a lot of people don't enjoy them. I think they're brilliant, and they're a brilliant test. And as Kieran Leddy alluded to, it's an equal playing ground for both teams.
Yeah, and often the term is kind of thrown out, oh, it's a terrible way to lose a game, but I'd love for someone to tell me a nice way to lose a game, and there's certainly worse ways to lose a game as well. If you think of a goalkeeping error, last puck of the game or something like that, or a missed free to win a game or level a game. So I don't think that argument holds up too much. One of the other things I wanted to mention, talking about Gaelic football, Kieran Leddy said that one change I would welcome is 4 points for a goal, as it feels goals always add a great level of excitement to the game. That was just a little point. But one thing that he did bring up was it's something that we've kind of seen throughout the end of the Munster Championship in the last couple of years, and this is a direct quote here. There's a suggestion that the hurling championship structure should be altered to allow 4 teams to qualify from the round robin. In my view, this will do far more harm than good to the profile of hurling. While the championship would gain 2 quarter-finals with this format, the round robins will become meaningless, with 10 games being played to eliminate 1 team. Therefore, we would lose far more big occasions than the 2 additional quarter-finals that we would gain. The Provincial Senior Hurling Championship will become more like a warm-up league than a championship. We must stop thinking that our senior championships are there to develop teams. The way that's worded, Shane, it kind of makes it very hard to argue with that. But that is a viewpoint that it certainly is out there. I remember John Milan talking about it, that he would like to see 4 of the 5 teams in Munster go through. And I'd have to be leaning towards the Kieran Leddy side of things, that I think the Munster Championship is so good the way it is that if you were to devalue the games by having 4 of the 5 teams go through, I think you'd devalue the whole thing.
I couldn't disagree with anything he said, and I'd say I'd say his comments are probably directed. We heard a good few people from Waterford, and I suppose the fact that we've had 6 iterations of the round robin, and Waterford still haven't gotten out of it. So I'm sure that they're only looking for, I suppose, probably an avenue to try and, I suppose, get out and get it into the deepest championship as possible. I suppose it's a moot point for this year because the structure's in hand. I just wonder, with the preliminary quarter-finals being done away with next year, maybe down the line they might potentially look at it. And I wouldn't say they may be having 2 extra quarter-finals. You know, in the minor championship, where you have the top 4 coming out, you kind of have preliminary quarter-finals where the third and Munster were played the fourth and Leinster and vice versa. And like, it could maybe that's something for maybe, I think if it was last year, Tipperary and Wexford could have played in Thurles, or Clare could have had to go to Dublin. Like it does create sort of those cross-provincial matchups and an element like that. Or maybe if a team got to a Munster final and lost, that their All-Ireland quarter-final could be in a home venue. Or like if you incentivise it somewhere where it wasn't just about finishing the top four, it's that if the higher up in the positions that you finished, it would benefit you in the longer run in terms of trying to win the All-Ireland. But as I say, in the short term, I don't think it changes. I still think people would probably come if four came out of the group. I just think that especially in Munster, because the competition is so good. But as I say, in the short term, I don't see it change. And you're probably looking at, I'd say you're probably looking at sellouts in every game next year. I'd say maybe Limerick at home to Waterford maybe could be the only game that mightn't sell out next year. Like that'd be an incredible thing to think of.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be going changing too much anyway. Certainly when you think back to Tip and Ennis last year and going down that day knowing that this is it, this is either we're going to be in the championship in 70 minutes time or we're going to be out. So that kind of jeopardy is what makes the Munster Championship so good. Lads, we could talk through some of the other points that are in that for another half an hour if we wanted, but we haven't the time this evening. So Shane, thanks a million for joining us on the show. Likewise, Cian, we'll chat to you in Templederry tomorrow. So thanks for joining us on the show, lads.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Paul.
Now we're going to just take a quick ad break here on Tip FM, but stick around. We're going to be talking to Nenagh darts player Stephen Rosney after these. And you're very welcome back to Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday the 16th of January 2026. Now last weekend there was big excitement locally here around Nenagh and further afield as well, as Nenagh's own Stephen Rosney came through PDC Q School and earned a tour card, meaning he can call himself now a professional darts player, and he can enter all the PDC tournaments and rub shoulders with the likes of Luke Littler, Luke Humphreys and all the top stars in the world of darts. Only 128 players have a tour card worldwide, so it's a huge achievement, and it's great to see someone locally achieve that, and that is exactly what Stephen Rosney done last Sunday. So yesterday, Thursday evening, I made the short trip here from our Nenagh studio up to Summerhill, up to the Palace Bar owned by Jamie Maxwell, and Jamie let us in to have a chat with Stephen Rosney, who lives just down the road, and we chatted about him coming through Q School, him looking forward to playing on the tour, and just a good old chat about his journey in the world of darts, which has led him to the very, very top of the sport. So let's listen back even to that conversation with Stephen Rosney that I had yesterday evening in the Palace Bar in Nenagh Town. So we're here in the Palace Bar in Nenagh with Tipperary's newest professional darts player, Stephen Rosney. Stephen,
nice to meet you, Paul.
Great to have you. First of all, congratulations. We're less than a week out since you secured your tour card over in England. First of all, unbelievable buzz, I'd imagine.
Yeah, something I didn't expect really to happen, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I just went over, just said to myself, go over, throw your darts, see how they go. If they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. Still so much other darts on apart from that, but it's a dream come true. Literally is a dream come true. Haven't really had time to let it sink in yet. It's still a bit surreal, knowing that I'll be going up again the best in the world now for the next 2 years at least. But it's an absolute dream come true, and I can't really wait to get started on the Pro Tour. Yeah, and
since last week when Q School started, let's say Monday of last week, you've got unbelievable support, just keeping an eye online, and there's an awful lot of people in your corner here in Nenagh.
Yeah, 100%. Even all down through the years, I'm playing now about 13 years, give or take, and through everything I've ever done, whether it be Q School, whether it be development tours, whether it be WDFs or INDOs or whatever, the support I've got off the family, friends, the town in Nenagh itself, everyone does back you. There's a lot of people that support me, that have thrown money at me different times, and when I go on Facebook there after Sunday and just see the massive amounts of posts up and people congratulating me and the messages I was getting, it's overwhelming. And to be fair, a lot of that is what gets you through things like Q School, is knowing that you have that support behind you. It's very, very important.
For people that maybe aren't aware, Q School is how you qualify for your tour card. There's 400 odd people there. There's only 13 tour cards that you can secure. So you were over there 2 years ago or 3 years ago maybe.
3 years, yeah.
Did you learn anything from that experience that you were able to take, or I'd imagine that was kind of helpful, the fact that you'd been there before?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 3 years ago, I was over there. Dylan Seven got his card that time, and my goal that time was just really to get to stage 2. I knew at the time I probably wasn't playing consistently enough to get my tour card, but I wanted to be there for the whole week, play the whole week at Q School, get the experience, come up against players who were just off the tour, new players who were going to get the tour card, and just see where I kind of fitted in. And yeah, it was really tough. Stage 2 especially, like I think I played the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm pretty sure I lost in last leg deciders nearly every day. And it was a real eye-opener for me to kind of showed me the standard that I needed to get to, that these lads just had that edge that I probably was lacking at that time. And now they're rolling on 3 years, and I always said to myself after that one, the next time I do it, I'm going to try to do it properly, and I really want to give it a rattle and go for my tour card, not just turn up and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all worked out, thank God, this time. Yeah.
And is that why maybe you didn't go the year after or the year after that? It took you 3 years before you thought, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to go over and have another go.
Yeah, I think so. I had a big part got to do with it. As well as that, I was doing a lot of the Irish rankings and stuff like that, and I was starting to go really well in them. Finished number 1 at the end of the rankings last year, and was made Irish captain, and knew I had the World Cup coming up in South Korea. And I kind of knew at Q School last year, if I had gone and got me tour card and stuff like that, then I would have had to pass up the opportunity of going to South Korea and captaining the country in a World Cup. So I kind of weighed up the 2 options, and I said South Korea is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. So yeah. I said I had to go down that route last year, gained much more experience that I did, and then just give it a right rattle this year. And look, Q School's so tough, but yeah, I'm so happy that I kind of waited that extra couple of years and went this year, and it all worked out.
Yeah, and when you were going over this time, then you mentioned you had that the next time I go, I'm going to try and win a tour card. There's a lot of pressure with that as well, and you know, Q School, as I mentioned, 400 odd people, only 13 cards up for grabs. It is a lot of pressure. Like, it's how would you could you feel that when you're over there?
I could feel it in maybe stage 2, in the latter part, but like I always say, it's a great saying. I always get killed for those pressures for tires. Do you know what I mean? It's you got to there is a bit of it, but like at the first stage, like because there's 3 days of it. You know, when I lost early on the first day of stage 1, I knew it's 2 more days. So you know, you try to relax yourself, and you know you can still do it in the next 2 days. You get through in the second day. You play stage 2, starts on the Thursday. You know, if Thursday doesn't go well, there's 3 more days. Yeah. So that kind of does ease a little bit of pressure off you. But when you're right in the mix on the last day, and you know a result, if it goes wrong, you're done. If it goes right, you could be in. That's kind of when the pressure kicks in, and the legs go a little bit like jelly in a way. But thank God I just managed to hold it together enough to get myself through it. But yeah, like I would say, playing under pressure is kind of one of my strengths. I think it doesn't really bother me. I've played on stages and played for Ireland so many times now that I think I thrive under pressure, and well, we'll see how I thrive under the pressure of the Pro Tour now when it starts. Yeah,
and just finally to finish up on Q School, like that last day, you're going into it, you know that you were right there in to where you need to be to get one of the tour cards, but as you said, a result or 2 can go against you. I think you won 3 games on the final day, and that 3rd game you survived some match starts, you ended up winning it. You didn't know at that time whether that was going to be enough or not. No. You lose your next game, you're probably thinking,
thought I was done for, yeah.
So talk about like that kind of moment where you find out that you've secured the tour card.
It was crazy. It was such a roller coaster of emotions from game 1 that last day. I knew going in there, I think it was like 11th or something in the rankings, knowing the top 5 get it, knowing it was going to be tough. But I knew starting the day as well, if I win 4 games here, I'm going to secure my tour card. That was all that was in my mind, was win 4 games and I'll get my tour card. So we're getting over the first couple of games, grand. The 3rd one, again, I knew going on legs, if I won the 3rd one, didn't know where it was going to leave me, it was going to come down to legs. Yeah. But again, I had to win it, and I think that's towards the back end of that game is probably where you've seen some of the nervier darts I think I've thrown all week, was being 4-1 up in that game, letting the lead slip, and then I was 5-4 down, and I was like, did I just ruin my chance here? But thank God, I held it together, went to the last leg, and I missed a couple of darts, and then he missed a couple of darts, thankfully. But I've always said it in Q School, like, I don't think anybody nearly gets their card without getting a little bit of luck somewhere along the way. I think the other two Irish guys were the same as me as well. I think Shane McGurk survived 2 match starts, I think, against Ted Evans as well earlier in his thing. I know Niall Cullen, I think, was 5-0 down in one of his games and came back to win 6-5. So, like, you need a little bit of luck, I think, in Q School to get your card. And also it can go the other way. I've seen another guy, Derek Coulson, lose out by a leg, and you know, that is just so unlucky. You know, and thank God the luck was with me. There was somebody looking down on me that day, and the emotion of getting through that last game. Like I said, I lost it 6-3 as well, and I thought that was me done for. You know, the 4 games that I wanted to win, I only won 3. Thought I was done for, and that emotion of being so distraught in that moment, and then 20 seconds later, you know, some guy comes over with his phone, and all of a sudden he goes, "No, you're gone dark green. You have your tour card." It was the mixture of emotions in that 20 seconds is something that will, I think, live with me forever. It was crazy, absolutely crazy, but just overwhelmed really with it, and that feeling at the end, and people come over congratulating you and everything, it'll definitely stay with me forever.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant story and so much to look forward to now. And you mentioned, like, it's a kind of a dream come true. It's kind of life changing as well. Like, you're working here in the town in Nenagh. You know, you're going to have to balance that now. Like, do you go full time with the darts, or do you try and balance, or how do you kind of plan that going forward now? Yeah,
so the plan going forward now is, like, I always kind of said it, if it did happen that I got a tour card, I think as a new tour card holder, it's good to have that stability and that security behind you of a job anyway. My job, I work in Tesco, and they said they're going to support me and they're going to accommodate me, so it's very good to have that. Like, if I didn't, I probably would have to leave, but because they're going to help me out and stuff, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to juggle the both worlds. But look, it is life changing. I'm hoping it's going to be life changing. I'm hoping it's not just for the 2 years that I have my card. I'm hoping it's obviously going to jug one a lot longer than that. And we'll see how the first period of Pro Tours and stuff go. You know, the life of the Pro Tour. And it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough, but life is going to change an awful lot now in the next coming couple of years. Yeah, and
people who maybe see the darts on TV, it's kind of glitz and glam on the big stage events, but the life on Pro Tour can be different. You're over in Milton Keynes, Leicester, Hildesheim in Germany, on these floor events that are behind closed doors, a lot of travelling and things like that. So you're friendly with Dylan Slevin, who was on the Pro Tour the last couple of years. Have you spoken to him maybe about some tips and tricks of how to kind of survive that lifestyle?
Yeah, so it is going to be very, very busy. I said it last year, I was in an awful lot of airports, and this year now it's going to be even twice as much, if not 3 times as much. You touched on Germany and Netherlands and England and everything, but it's going to be difficult. I have spoken to Dylan, spoke to him today actually, and just kind of, it's new to me, and he's been there for 3 years, so I wanted to get some tips on the tour and with different things, not just darts related and stuff. And I learned a lot from talking to him today. I knew a lot more stuff after talking to him that I knew beforehand. So like it's nice to have someone that you're friendly with like that I can kind of touch base with if I need to kind of know something that I think he might know. Like, you know, he's been there and he's done it for the last 3 years, and I'm only new to it. So it's nice to have him that I can contact, you know, whenever I kind of want to.
Yeah, and I think you might be maybe one of the, you know, there's 128 PDC professionals in the world. You're one of them. I'd probably argue you're maybe one of the only ones who doesn't have a dartboard at home. So tell us a bit about that. You don't have a dartboard at home.
Yeah, just part of my mentality over the last number of years is I have an awful belief in over practicing and stuff, and people might just think that's a load of codswall up or whatever, but I do think there is a factor in over practicing. Before, when I used to practice an awful lot, I feel like my game is only going down because you're not really doing anything, you're just throwing at the board, and you're not exactly trying anything new. I think competitive practice is the best practice you're going to get, so that's why over the last couple of years I've tried to play a lot more competitions. So I come up to be local pub here in the Palace, and I come up here maybe once or twice a week and I'll throw a few darts to keep my arm in, but then every weekend nearly I'm away playing competition, and you're playing against some of the best players around Ireland or wherever you may be, and by playing that competition, that's what's kept my game and improved my game. So I mean, if it's not broken, don't try fix it, I suppose. That's the way I'm looking at it kind of at the minute, but now that I'm on the Pro Tour, things might have to change slightly, but we'll see.
So Jamie might be sick of you coming up here.
He might have to get a couple of new boards or something. Yeah, we'll have to have a chat with him. Like, we'll see.
And like going on the tour now, you said you started darts maybe you're around 18 years old.
About 17, I think.
Yeah,
17 and a half, yeah.
How did you kind of first get into it, and when did you kind of think, I want to kind of have a go at this?
It was mad. I was in my bedroom one, and I just started watching the World Championship on TV in December, and kind of just fell in love with watching it at first. And I remember being in a sports shop in Limerick with my parents and begging them for a dartboard, and they were like, no, not a chance, we don't have the room, and you put holes in the wall and everything like that. So they told me I wasn't getting one, and I was trying to strap, and I didn't get one, and eventually they turned around and they got me one a couple of weeks later, and put it up in my bedroom, and just I started throwing for hours on end, just kind of loved it whilst I was watching it on TV as well, and I just fell in love with the sport like that. And then just after a couple of months, I think I hit my first 180, and then I wanted to start playing a few competitions and stuff like that around Nenagh. There was a singles league in Nenagh being ran by Paul Carroll at the time, I'm really good friends with, and I really wanted to start playing that, but it was at the same time as my leaving cert. So as you can imagine, Mammy was kind of I know you're not doing that kind of thing. So I begged, and I remember it was week 2, and I'll never forget the quote she said to me. She goes, "Steve, if you want to do it, just go do it. Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to do what you want anyway." And I remember just going, "All right, thanks, see you later," kind of thing. And I left, and I went to the pub that night, played the singles league, and ever since that, I just started playing competitions all around. Started going further afield, started getting better, and here we are, 13 years later, and we're on the Pro Tour. It's crazy. It's mental to even think about it.
It's unreal, and like you're obviously a fan of darts. Is there anyone maybe you wouldn't mind getting drawn against in a Pro Tour, just to say, geez, I can't wait to play this fella?
To be fair, any of them. Like I don't. When you're young and you're watching darts, you look up to them and they're kind of idols as such. But nowadays, obviously, you have to look at them as competitors. That's what they are. You know, they're if I play any of them in a Pro Tour, they're going to try beat me as much as I want to beat them. And obviously, I am kind of looking forward to the potential of getting drawn against some of the big boys. You know, I would like to, whatever about the Pro Tours, but even the UK Open, which is coming up in March and stuff, I would like to get through the couple of rounds that I need to get through to potentially come up against one of the big boys. And I would love to draw, of course, the likes of Littler or Humphreys or Van Gerwen or whoever, and get onto that big stage kind of as soon as possible, and then see how I react up there. But yeah, look, it's going to be a fun 2 years minimum, and looking forward to coming up against any of them. Can't wait.
And like usually when someone is new on the Pro Tour, talking about getting onto the big stage, playing on TV for the first time is kind of a big thing. But you were in the Lakeside just before Christmas. I'd imagine that was a good experience to just experience that kind of level and big stage TV televised. Yeah,
100%. Even when I qualified for Lakeside in Budapest back in October, it was such a big thing to me then. Going playing in Lakeside then. Lakeside is iconic. Like it is, it's the same as what it was 30-40 years ago. You know, it hasn't changed. Turn up to the venue, looking at it and knowing that's where the likes of Taylor and Bristow and players like that won most of their world titles. Being in the players' room in the back, just the whole thing was a bit surreal at the time. But yeah, the confidence I took from playing on that stage, I felt so calm and I felt so cool on it that I knew that, do you know what, this is for me. It felt right. So I took the confidence from Lakeside, although I lost in the last 16 and I was a bit disappointed with that. The confidence I got from winning the first 2 games, being up on that stage, feeling as calm as I did on the stage, that definitely I think helped me going into Q School for sure.
And as we start here in the start of 2026, what are your kind of goals? Have you kind of marked out anything? This is where I want to be come December, come the end of my first year.
Not set and many goals as of yet, because I haven't started yet. But I suppose the one thing everybody would like to do, definitely in the first year, because if I don't, it'll make the second year really difficult. But I would love to make Ali Pali at the end of the year. I think that's going to be my number 1 goal this year. Whatever about the rest of the majors, they're going to be very, very difficult for somebody that's only on the tour to make. But Ali Pali, I think, in the Players' Championship finals are realistic ones towards the back end of the year. So if I could make me debut with Ali Pali at the end of this year, that would be massive. And it's massive money in that, so it's massive for the rankings as well. Especially when it comes to year 2 and trying to hold on to your tour card, getting into that top 64. I think trying to get to Ali Pali the first year is pivotal in that. So that will definitely be the number 1 goal. I think getting Ali Pali at the end of the year.
Well, we'll all be supporting you here in Tipperary, and we can't wait to see you do your rest on tour. So fair play.
Cheers, appreciate it. Thanks a million, Paul.
And once again, thanks a million to Stephen Rosney for meeting up with myself in the Palace Bar, and many thanks to Jamie Maxwell as well for allowing us to use the premises where Stephen does most of his practicing there on Summerhill. So really, really excited to see how Stephen gets on the PDC Pro Tour. His first kind of outing will be on the 28th of January for those World Masters preliminary rounds. So we wish Stephen the very, very best luck, and we'll all be keeping a keen eye on how he gets on the PDC Pro Tour. But now it's time for our second ad break of the evening here in Tip FM. Camogie and greyhound racing up after these. And you're very welcome back to the final part of Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 16th of January 2026. Now, it is a very busy weekend of sport in Tipperary. Of course, we've already talked about the big one in Templederry tomorrow, Thurles CBS against Nenagh CBS. We also have some big camogie action that we're going to get to in just a second. Some big soccer games too. St. Michael's are taking on Newmarket Celtic in the last 16 of the Munster Junior Cup on Saturday at 7 o'clock in Cook Park. That is actually a repeat of a game that was live here on Tip FM back in 2023. That was the FAI Junior Cup final, which Newmarket won on penalties. So a renewal of that rivalry in Cook Park tomorrow. On Sunday, in the world of soccer, another Tipperary team is in Munster Junior Cup action. Templemore side BT Harps make the difficult trip down to Waterford to face Villa FC. We wish them the very best of luck, as we wish St. Michael's the best luck. In league action then, the NTDL Premier Division leaders Ardcroney are on the road to Ballymackey at 11 a.m. on Sunday. At 2 o'clock then, Shinrone host Rare Cross. In the TSDL Premier League on Sunday, Peak Villa host Castletown at 11 a.m. and at 2 p.m. Clonmel Celtic are away to Cullen Latin. Also some big horse racing action on Sunday in Thurles. It's a massive race card down for decision getting underway there at 20-1. 2 Grade 2 races on that card as well, so some top class racing taking place in Thurles this weekend. But speaking of Thurles and speaking of top class action, there is a lot of camogie to talk through. So joining me on the line to talk through that is Tipperary camogie Piro Geraldine Kinane. Geraldine, you're very welcome back to the show. How are you getting on?
How's it going, Paul?
Yeah, great to talk to you, Geraldine. Early in the season, but massive games for both the Tipperary inter-county teams and also schools camogie. We'll start with the schools first. Ursuline Thurles on Saturday in MIC Thurles at 12 noon are in the Munster Senior A Schools camogie final. It's against Closh Cullen Ballincollig, but Ursuline last weekend picked up the Junior A, so the younger age grade Munster title. Now they're in the senior age grade final. It's a great sign of camogie in that Thurles area and for Ursuline.
Yeah, fantastic again by Ursuline Thurles to be back in another Munster Senior A final, having won the Junior A last weekend. And some of the players, will feature again this weekend, likes of Molly Jones, Jessie Shannon, Mel Flannery, will all play key roles. Rosie O'Brien on the senior team. They look like, they have a strong side. The captain there by Cueva Stakelum, obviously a key player, has had loads of experience now with Ursuline and Tipperary Minors and Thurles Sarsfields last couple of years. So she'll be a key player for Thurles. And one that Ballincollig will have to watch. But look, Thurles have been here before. They're a strong side. They have the success of the juniors, and they're certainly will be hoping, to add a senior title this weekend. Like Kate Dowling as well from McCarthy Burris will probably be centre back for them as well. So a very strong Ursuline Thurles team, and just wish them the very best luck on Saturday.
Yeah, and we echo that. That's Saturday at 12 o'clock in MIC in Thurles. Then on Sunday at 1 o'clock, the Tipperary minor camogie team are in Munster semi-final action at home in the County Camogie Grounds in the Rag against Limerick. And by all accounts, this Limerick team were the under-16 champions 2 years ago, so they're probably one of the favourites for the All-Ireland this year, you'd imagine. So a tough test for Ray Ralph's side first up here on Sunday.
Yeah, tough opening game in the Munster Championship. I know Ray though and his management team, Trevor, Seamus, Siobhan and Karen have put huge work into the minors again this year. It's their second year involved. They would have lost, I suppose, a lot of players from last year, but they've called up some of the under-17s, the strong under-17 team there last year, won the All-Ireland. So, look, it's going to be a tough test on Sunday, but like I said, a lot of work has gone into this minor team, and we're at home and expecting a big crowd. There's some players there from last year's minor team like Zaveva Ralph McCarthy, Ciara Cal from Drum, who captains the team, and then you have strong underage players like the Grace Cleary from Nenagh and Abby Horgan from Borlan, and all key players even on their own adult teams, and they're still minor, and they'll have a big part to play come Sunday as well. So that game throws in at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and both that game and the schools game are both being shown by Clubber, which is fantastic as well. But I suppose we're still hoping for a big home crowd to come out and show on our teams.
Yeah, for sure. We wish both the Ursuline in Thurles and, of course, the Tipperary Minor Camogie team the very best of luck this weekend. Geraldine, as always, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Paul.
And many thanks, as always, to Geraldine Kinane there, looking ahead to the weekend's camogie action. But now, at this time of a Friday evening, it's time to talk dogs with Barry Drake.
Tip FM's Greyhound News Update with Greyhound Racing Ireland, your Christmas party destination across the nation.
So it's another very busy weekend of greyhound racing action, and looking ahead to tonight's greyhound action, of course, in Clonmel. Very exciting time for greyhound fans in Clonmel over the course of the next couple of weeks. And racing tonight gets underway at 7:31. And the one to follow tonight in Clonmel, of course, is trained in Killinall by Jennifer O'Donnell, the other male who lines up in race number 3. Trap number 3 in race number 7. This is a real classy sort, the other male. And it's got the early pace to dominate from start to finish, and that is the one that is expected to certainly get the job done in Clonmel tonight. Switching our attentions to Thurles Greyhound Stadium on Saturday night with a 7 o'clock start. They have the Alpha Drives A6, A7 competition getting underway. That should provide good racing over the course of the next couple of weeks with €1,500 to the winner. And a couple of interesting sorts in the event, just in terms of heat number 2. One to keep an eye on here in trap number 3 is Borna Bunty for Rory Dewan, the local kennel, a 29.97 winner last time. Looks like it's an improving sort and should take plenty of stopping there in that race. Also keep an eye on Gold Mine Sapphire in race number 7. That's heat number 4 of the competition, owned by Francis Tobin and Aoife O'Gorman, trained by Dick Purcell. That was a decent enough effort in a hot contest last time, and better expected tomorrow night in that one. Obviously, the likes of Borna Bantam in trap number 5 as well is another leading player for Rory Dewan. And as I said, that competition is expected to provide good racing over the course of the next couple of weeks. In terms of action, of course, on Sunday night at Clonmel Greyhound Stadium, where the first race, of course, which will get underway at 6:04. It's featuring the Tommy and Bridget and Mary Dunford Memorial Bitch Stake opening round with €2,000 to the winner. The opening heat can go the way of trap number 2, who's trained by Adam Dunford, and that's Imikilly Roxanne, who's got stunning early pace, and she's been competing at a very high level over the course of the last couple of months. Elsewhere on the card, Michael O'Donovan is represented with trap number 1, Lone Calling, who's owned by William Keane down in Listowel. That's got good claims in race number 7. That's also in the Tommy and Bridget and Mary Dunford Memorial Bitch Stake. Of course, trap number 2, Bush Park Mel, will have plenty of supporters as well, running from trap number 2 for champion trainer Graham Holland. Ascot Logan has been a wonderful servant for Connections over the course of the last couple of years. He lines up in race number 8, owned by Billy Murphy and Francis Mullen. And this one, of course, has won 33 of its 78 career starts, and with another fast start expected, should take plenty of stopping. Also in that race, keep an eye on trap number 5, Chaotic Al there, of course, for Peter Hattemore in Carrigan Shore. That's got good recent form, a recent 28.87 winner, and not without a chance in that race. And also in Clonmel on Sunday night, of course, the closing race in the card is an A3 contest. And in this race, of course, Merrifield Rapido is expected to run well and could return to winning ways for the local kennel of Patrick Brady in Clonmel. Switching our attentions further afield and looking ahead to Shelburne Park on Saturday night, they have a really good card down for decision, which gets underway at 7:42. And a couple to keep an eye on. We're going with Bocco's Gold in race number 4. This one, of course, the Tote Gold Cup starts soon. AO 525 with €2,500 to the winner. Ran well in defeat last time, and from the inside of the track, certainly should take plenty of stopping. Also on the card, of course, looking ahead to the race number 6, which is the Callaway Pro-Am at Stud ON 1350 final, €3,000 to the winner. Trap number 4, Callaway Katie, created a favourable impression when winning on the first time of Askin in 1876 for Newen trainer Owen McKenna, owned by Dennis Murphy down in Killarney. Back-to-back winning performances very much expected in that one. Elsewhere on the card, in terms of Tipperary Greyhounds on the night, of course, looking ahead Down into race number 11, trap number 4 is Brideside Bill, of course, who's trained by Graham Holland. That was below its best last time, but if returning to previous form, definitely has a big chance. But the one to beat, of course, in trap number 1 is Toolmaker King, who's got sensational form in the book, and from the inside of the track definitely should take plenty of stopping. So as I said, of course, a busy weekend of greyhound racing action. A lot to look forward to at Clonmel Greyhound Track over the course of the next couple of weeks. Of course, they were racing last night as well. Some fine performances on the night, of course. There'll be a load of feature finals over the weekend. The long weekend, of course, in the first weekend there in February, last weekend in January. So as I said, a lot to look forward to, and expecting big crowds at the local Clonmel Greyhound Stadium over the course of the next couple of weeks. So as I said, plenty to look forward to this weekend. Good action at Shelbourne Park and a couple of nice races as well at Thurles Greyhound Stadium. So no doubt we'll have plenty to talk about again come next week.
And as always, many thanks to Barry Drake there for giving us the rundown on what's happening in the world of greyhound racing, both here in Tipperary and further afield as well. That's just about all we got time for this week's edition of the show. If you do want to listen back, it will be on the Tip FM website in the next half an hour. And of course, tomorrow's live game, 12:30 in Templederry, Thurles CBS against Nenagh CBS. You can hear the full game live on Tip FM with thanks to REA Owen Dillon in Nenagh. I'll be on duty for that one. Cian Treacy will be joining me. So until then, and for this week's edition of Across the Line, it's bye for now.